What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I am Alex. I'm joined by a very, very special guest. We're keeping the kind of Scream content creator tour going, and then this guy, we've had him on before. He was actually one of my very first Scream guests, so we've talked a long, long time ago, and it's been very hard to get back together, but Killjoy Jake is here, an amazing guy, and of course, you guys can subscribe to him in the description below. I believe you're closing in on 12,000 subscribers, so getting him to 12,000 is the next goal. But Jake, thank you so much, buddy, for being here.
Yeah, of course, man. I'm excited to talk about Scream with you.
Yeah, so we we're going to kind of go off on probably, I assume, tangents. We've done that before, but we want to start, or at least I want to start and center it on the Melissa Barrera statements from, well, depending on what day this video goes up, a few days ago, yesterday, whatever. The ones that obviously stood out is talking about Nev, right? So she talks about how, she's kind of with us in spirit, the presence is there. And then talking about, I guess, the vision of what Scream 6 is going to be from the director. So let's start with the Nev thing just really quickly. Let's get kind of your updated thoughts, Jake. Where are you on Nev? Does Melissa saying this, does that do anything for you? What do you think?
I mean, she's still not going to be in the movie, so even if they give her, you know what I mean? That's kind of my thing about it. If they give her a proper send-off, I guess, okay,
Yeah.
as long as they don't kill her off screen or something outrageous like that, I guess I'm okay with it. It's one of those things I kind of need to see to believe, first and foremost. If this movie is, it's kick-ass, it's awesome, there's, okay, no Sidney, but it's still good. I'm down for it. I'm still excited for it. I'm mildly concerned. I think this is a massive change for something that's been so consistent and so awesome throughout all these movies. I'm very curious to see what they do with her character, what Melissa Barrera is talking about here.
Yeah. Now, so you don't think even a cameo? That's your updated thought. You believe the recent Nev saying no stuff?
I kind of do, because man, I mean, what better of an update can you get? You know what I mean? She's literally telling us. I mean, could she be lying to our faces? I mean, maybe for sure. And I would love for that to be the truth.
Yeah. Well, the thing I like going at some Scream fans on Twitter because I think they're nuts, and I find it funny that they originally, if you remember, they thought Nev was lying directly to either Master Chaos TV and all those people at that first convention. Either they're liars or Nev was lying, but then now Nev is totally telling the truth. So that's not going after you. It's going after Scream fans on Twitter that can't pick a side. That's just what I find funny. My personal thought, I still think she's in it as a cameo. I'll buy it until it's, I guess, not true. And then if it's not true, and I've said this before, it's simply as easy as if it's not true, I don't believe anymore the sources that said it. That's all that it, some people think our lives are ruined by certain things happening or not. All right, so and we'll see, I guess. Well, what do you think? Do you literally think when Melissa says she says specifically presence, her presence will be felt? So do you think that literally means they'll mention her, or do you think it's more like a spiritual, oh, it's a Scream movie, so Sidney? What do you think that word meant?
I hope it means cameo. I hope it means secret, praying that happens, of course. But I think realistically, it's going to be one of those things where it's hey, we're going to mention her, and we're going to say, oh, she's living happily with her family and all that. Everything's fine with Sidney. This is great. Yeah. Even though with all the things going on with the studio, it does feel a little distasteful. But whatever, man. I hope she's.
They could just do a Fast and Furious. I love Fast and Furious. So what they did with Brian, pretty much when Paul Walker died, and just he's babysitting. He's always with the kid. I mean, something as simple as, and I really like how they threw him into, I think it was Fast 8, when they said, should we bring him in? And then I think Michelle Rodriguez's character says, we made a vow, we would never bring Brian back. And it's that's impactful. He's still around. I like that kind of idea. So hopefully, if they did something like that with Nev, that would be pretty cool. All right. Then you have, obviously, the tone. So what do you, and I know you've seen, Ready or Not and stuff. So what, she talks about how, Scariest, they're going to be doing things that are different. And she even, I didn't see this on the first kind of glance, but she even directly says kind of what we were all thinking. 5, was kind of close to the chest because they were replicating Wes Craven. 6, they're going more their style, which is what something, UI, Craven, a lot of us have said that. Now she actually said it, kind of word for word. So what do you think about, the tone kind of stuff?
Well, I hope it's what they're promising. We have
Yeah.
both Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera saying these things. It's going to be gorier, bloodier, scarier. I
Yeah.
hope it really is that, because I feel like we just say this about sequels. We get caught up in like, oh, it's got to top the next one. And this
Yeah.
is essentially Radio Silence's Scream sequel. You know, it's Scream 6 to us, but to them it's their second movie.
Yeah.
So I hope they're not just saying that because it's like, hey, that's what we should say for a slasher sequel. You know what I mean? I really hope they do bring the gore, a good kill, something a little more original than just some stabby stabs, you know?
Yeah, no, I think, and well, I'm gonna go off on a limb and say I think we're on the same page. Where I stand on it is like I like to hear it. It's fine, and it does literally reaffirm what people have been saying for like a year now. But I'm kind of with you. Like, well, when I read it, I'm like, well, I don't really care all that much. Like, if it's the most scary Scream movie ever, I don't really care. I think what, like, the diehards are looking for is you gotta nail this story. There's obviously key decisions with characters that you need. So, like, while it's cool, you know, I mean, like you said, like, yeah, that's what you... I almost expect to hear that for a slasher. Like, oh, it's more gory. Oh, the kills are cooler. Well, that's fine, but honestly, I don't really care. I don't. I know there are some people that do care, and that's totally fine, right? Some people only go for that stuff. But for Scream, specifically even for me, like the story, what you do with Sam, what you do, like if Chad is still like not a character, like those are way more important than if it's scary or not.
I totally agree. I think that's like the most important thing, but like icing on the cake, cherry on top
Right.
is like, oh, and we also have some gory, crazy kills. Okay, hey,
Yeah.
you know, that'd be awesome. I hope bottom line though, they nail the characters, they nail the story, they have a good motive, good twist. You know, that's the most important things, the foundation. But
Yeah.
if we can also have some like cherries on top, I'm okay with that.
Right. And I will say, like, going along with Melissa, what she says, like, I think, you know, doing their own thing and kind of going a little bit away from West, that could very much, or that should, kind of seep its way into the story, right? So you should see maybe a story that does more different things than you've ever seen before because they're not sticking it. So, you know, if you take it for that, now she uses it more towards, you know, kills and maybe like suspense and stuff, that's fine. But if they can do it with story, and again, like, it's not guaranteed it's going to work. We've said that numerous times, right? Like they can make a big decision and it's not guaranteed that people are going to like it, but at least, and I hope I'm going to be like man enough to go on record and say, hey, at least they tried. Like I will still give them credit, even if I don't like it, you know, at the end.
Absolutely. With anything that is super ambitious, I can at least respect it at the end of
Right.
the day. But like if it's just like a lazy, like, hey, you know what? Remember that Scream 2 script? We're gonna just change the names, baby.
Yep.
That's all we're doing. We're pumping that out again. Then I'm just gonna be like, whatever.
So, and this is something I want to get your opinion on in terms of that for this movie. All right, so we've heard a lot of rumors. Obviously, you know, we had Samara Weaving being announced. There's obviously been things that are confirmed. The behind the scenes stuff, the stuff that people are trying to put together, and it is people are able to just do it naturally, like online. The whole Mackenzie thing, connecting her to Liv. I think I was talking to Master Chaos, and Master Chaos or Craven, and it got me thinking, what if they're literally doing it where they're killing, because, you know, in 2, they kill people with one of the 2 names, first or last name, that match it. And so if she, let's just follow it. If she is a Mackenzie and she dies, then they literally can have that chalkboard scene where it's like, oh, Mackenzie, Liv was a Mackenzie. Would you be worried? Like if we knew going into this movie without having seen it yet, if we knew going in that Samara Weaving was Liv's sister, does that almost worry you because of how close that would maybe be to 2, what they would do with her?
I do feel like this is going to be a movie that has those similarities, those parallels to 2. I just really hope they don't follow the same like plot structure, the same like way they set up the mystery, because then it's going to be pretty obvious, right?
Yeah.
Like even if they don't introduce Samara Weaving as like her sister at first, and then she comes out at the end and she's like, "I'm the killer, haha, I'm getting revenge." I just feel like, dude, we've seen that already. We've seen the family revenge twist already in 2.
Yeah.
There's so many different reasons to get up and start killing somebody. So I say give us a different motive here, a different kind of killer that we haven't seen before. There's plenty of ideas that we could pitch and put out there. Like go back and read some of those like Agatha Christie novels, man. There is so many different motives you can have for a Ghostface killer that's maybe rooted in some old weird stuff. I don't know, man. I just want to see something else. I want to see something I've never seen before. I don't want to pay $12 for a movie ticket to just Scream 2 again.
Yeah, 12. My God, I don't know. I don't even know. My theater's like freaking $20 or whatever it is. Well, what do you think?
God.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think I walked myself into this theory with Craven. I want to get your opinion on it. What do you think? And I think, and you've talked about 3 killers before. I know you and Master Cass have done live streams and stuff. What do you think about the idea of one of them, maybe even like a Dermot or Dermot or however you say his name? What do you think of like someone like him kind of hunting people as Ghostface, but he's hunting Ghostface killers instead of, because we kind of walked ourselves into a theory of like, well, if one of them is Ghostface, and it's actually something I've talked about before, I think a lot of people, where, if you had one Ghostface kill somebody without them actually knowing who they're killing, and you can kind of warp that into, okay, well, if one is Ghostface and they're going after Ghostface killers, but maybe they accidentally in the process end up killing innocent people, right? Maybe they think, oh, Chad seems a little sus here, so we're going to take him out. Because, it's almost like a Sam angle, right? Where we talk about, Sam could maybe do it. Once you kill, you can't really be redeemed, right? So the issue with Sam is if she starts killing, you can't redeem. But if a Ghostface killer starts doing it, well, they don't have to be redeemed because you can kill them at the end. Do you like the idea of like Ghostfaces inadvertently even like hunting other Ghostfaces?
I like it because it's just hella chaotic. Like, that to me just sounds like an awesome movie. And trying to figure out that mystery too. Like, if you didn't know that angle of it, and like more people are dying, and you're just like, well, this doesn't follow the pattern or something.
Yes.
Really throws a monkey wrench into the whole like the investigation from like our main characters.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you get that reveal that it's like maybe they're not working together. It's like what you're talking about. You got a guy who's hunting down the other ghost faces, but prematurely killing people before he gets like enough information on them.
Right.
That could be really
interesting.
interesting.
He's like, well, you look really suspect, and I'm going to go on a hunch and kill you. And if it is that Dermot, right, and he's a cop in this movie, he would go to the crime scene. You could see his facial expression. You don't ever need to tell anybody he's Ghostface. And maybe at some point he does kill a Ghostface, right? Maybe there's 3 in all. One of the last people the one kills is a Ghostface. So now it's just this, almost this vigilante, this Batman Ghostface, and then one that's going after the survivors of past movies, whatever motive that wants to be. I think that's different. We've never seen that before. I think, like you said, it's chaotic because you're like, well, this doesn't follow any, because you could have even something similar to what you're doing in Scream 2, and then just like a wrench gets thrown and Sam gets killed, or something insanely, you know what I mean? Which would completely uproot kind of this mimic thing you're doing with Scream 2.
And then you have no idea where it's going from there. That's the big thing that I want, because if we kind of follow similar plot beats to Scream 2, I know exactly where it's going the whole time, Like, I want to see something where I'm genuinely just like, I don't know what's going to happen next. This is the franchise to do that. This is their movie to do that too. Because if we're going into a Scream 7 with the same team, theoretically, they could do whatever the hell they wanted with the ending here. Yeah. Like, they could make this turn into like any kind of movie they want and then resolve it in the next movie. They have an opportunity here to make Scream 6 just completely different from anything we've ever seen before. And I just hope they go that route instead of just trying to relive something from the past,
Yeah. Well, speaking of the past, did you see, so obviously the Melissa Barrera thing was one big aspect of yesterday. I think maybe it was last night. I think Tristan over on Brittany Vinyl on Twitter, he was tweeting, and it was like a rumor of stuff that was already going around, the whole Kirby situation, Kirby's house. There's a rumor that like half of her house has been built inside of a studio, and they're basically at some point going to be showing you and I actually really, I'll just start off. I love that idea, showing the ending of 4 and how she survives, and then doing like a flash forward. Have you seen that stuff? What do you think of it?
That looks awesome if that's going to be the case. I'm so down for that. I would love to get some kind of explanation as to like what happened that night too. You know, like what else happened that we didn't see, because there's they have to show us something is my thing. Like, I kind of want to see what happened that night. Did Kirby get rescued? Did someone else save her? Like, what was the situation there? How does that affect the events of this movie? I want to see that.
Yeah. And I think, she's not like that much. Well, she is older, but she was pretty young, and she still is young, where it's like you could easily do it 10 years ago and still make it be like she's the same age, whatever. I love that idea. Like, to me, you don't have to. I honestly believe that. Like, if she just showed up, but maybe it's because like, well, we have like the Wes Craven tweet that said like she's still alive and stuff like that. So like the diehards probably, I get it, I guess, from like a mass appeal where it's like, let's go back, let's remind people. Now, I don't know how many people that saw 4 are seeing 6, or even like a new audience, right, that saw 5 for the first time and now is seeing 6. How many saw 4? You don't want to confuse them. So, like, while I would like a mention of Jill, or if you wanted to do, like, some crazy Emma Roberts cameo, which you totally could do, you really
totally,
could
yeah.
do. I don't know that. Like, I definitely want it, but I feel like I don't know how confusing that gets to, because I think 5 really was viewed by a lot of people for the first time. Not the majority, but I think a good amount. And then, you're going to 6, but then you're referencing 4, and people are like, well, what's 4? You know what I mean? So I don't know how far you would go with that. But if you wanted to do an Emma Roberts thing, you could there. You want to just, even if I guess you showed Kirby standing, or you showed like an ambulance like pulling up and you have her, and that was kind of it. I don't know. How far do you think they would need to go to show she's like alive? Do you think it's as simple as like an ambulance, or you need to show more than that?
I think that if they're gonna show that, it has to do a little more than just be like, oh, this is how Kirby survived. Because like you said, they could kind of just do that off screen. They could, and you could do that in a conversation with Kirby and Gale or something. I mean, that would be so quick.
Right.
I think if they're going to do this, and if this rumor is true, like if they really are rebuilding her house, like in some set somewhere or whatever, I think it's gonna add something to the overall plot. Like you're gonna see something like maybe Sam was invited to that party for some reason. Like there's a bit of an age difference, obviously, but I think you can make that work and affects the plot somehow, where how like Kirby and Sam already know each other. There's a character involved in Scream 4 that like is now involved in Scream 5. That's the only reason I could see this. It needs to do a little more than just explain the Kirby thing if this is true. I want to see it like actually add on to the overall plot of this movie. Like maybe something that happened in 4 is actually affecting the plot line here. It could be cool. I don't know. I think that would be sick.
Yeah, no, I like that, and well, we know like Sam had her roots there for a long time, right? And she was a now. And I've always found it funny, like in real life, they're 1 year apart. Hayden is 1 year older than Melissa, which is nuts.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but in the movie age, Sam was what, like 24, 25, so now she'd be like a couple years older. So there is a substantial difference in the movie, probably like a 7 to 9, thing, like you said. But they could easily. Even like if you want to do some weird where like Kirby babysat Sam and then Sam obviously something as simple as that. But I always found that funny that they're actually not very far apart in real age, but in the movie they had to stretch it. I like the idea. I mean, I guess in terms of Kirby in general, let's get your updated thoughts. Do you think survive, die?
She's definitely dead. Like,
you think you think they're gonna kill her?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my God, no!
And I don't want it to happen. Listen, I'm not trying to manifest this thing, make it happen. But man, they brought back a lot of characters in that last movie, and they did not do all that well.
That's true. But Kirby's, I just feel like I don't know, killing Judy feels like a missed opportunity. And like of course there's people that call her like queen and stuff on Twitter. Like there's people that get super invested, and that's fine. I don't think it's that big of a deal that she died. I do think it was a missed opportunity in terms of how it was almost directed in 4, right, where you could always kind of have her be like a secret ghost face. And it would make sense. Like you could, you could have her for like 4 movies and have her be at the end. And that's the one character you really could do. People, Dewey could be the ghost face at the end, or Sidney. No, Judy actually makes sense for that, just in the way it was framed. And then 5 completely undid that, even in terms of how she acted. It's like she was never going to be Ghostface. Kirby, I just feel like you'd make people so upset bringing back a fan favorite, and you're doing it. In even their own words, you didn't want to do a cameo. It was kind of all or nothing. Like you were going to bring her back fully or not. And then you bring her back. My issue is this, Jake, and I'll get your thoughts on it. I would be more okay with killing her if she was a literal main character like she was in 4 for the full movie. Now, my issue is, and I will predict this, and I think I will predict this right because of just what we know, she's not going to be in this movie very much. It seems like she arrived on set, well, let's look at the day, last Friday. So she's probably on set for 2 to 3 weeks. So she probably has very similar time to Sidney or Gale in 5, like 10, 12 minutes. In my opinion, that is not enough time, and that's not respectful enough to me. And I know you said, by the way, like you don't want it to happen. I'm not trying to make it like I'm lecturing you. To me,
no, you're good.
You're good. Like to me, I don't think it would be, and I will call them out for this. I don't think it's respectful bringing her back 12 minutes. Yeah, she's like a Sidney role character, but like 12 minutes and then you kill her at the end. I think that'd just be so. If she was in it for like 30. Like she was a character in 4, or then she survived till 5 and they killed her in 5, like Wes Craven's 5. I'd be much more okay with it. But like 10, 12 minutes, and I guess that's an assumption. We don't know that's her limited screen time, but just she's not on set. Or, now she is. But, I mean, they're almost done. They got like 2 weeks left.
My theory with all this, and this is me like put my tinfoil hat on, conspiracy theory, is that maybe like when they were getting wind of Nev Campbell not wanting to be a part of the project, that's when they were like, hey, Hayden Panettiere, come on, let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's get you in there. We'll just fill it. We'll take out all the Sidney stuff. We'll write in a Kirby plot.
Yeah.
That's kind of what my thinking is right now, and I kind of agree. I feel like it's like, really, you're gonna waste this like really beloved character like this? I feel like it would have been almost better if they would have waited for Scream 7 and like wrote her in more as like as an actual character, someone who affects the plot. Because now I feel like it's just going to be like oh hey, what's up guys? I'm Kirby. Remember me? come buy a movie ticket. That's the vibe I'm getting. And I hope I'm wrong. Once again, I hope I'm dead wrong, but I kind of agree with you. I feel like that might unfortunately be the case.
And it's kind of confusing, right? Because it's like, I want to hear from them. Because, I mean, and look, I'm not going necessarily, after the writers or the directors, but like, there's always so much kind of like crossover talk in Hollywood. And it's like, I don't really just believe any of it because everybody contradicts each other. So I guess what I'm referencing here is Hayden said point blank that she called them. So I would love to hear what they say. You know what I mean? It's like, well, did you think of Hayden from the beginning? And it's like, well, you're either going to call her a liar because you're going to say, yeah, we wrote her in immediately. Oh, but she called you and she said you're making another but then you have them like following her back like 2 years ago, right? So it's like all of this stuff. I think it's an important point only because, like you're saying, for the script. I think it's the most important to figure out kind of what came first, to figure out if she was an established written thing in this script or if she was kind of birthed from Nev like you say. Because that would be rushed. Because no matter what,
100%. Yeah.
And because Nev makes it public on that Monday that they start filming. Nev probably told them like a month or two earlier, right? So there is but that's still like a month or two then to switch it to Kirby, if that's the case. So I would love, personally, I would love to see, because then also it's like, well, if she's taking Nev's role, then she wouldn't die. If she's literally like a 1-to-1, unless they were like, unless they're like, well, we need to spice it up because it's a different character, so we can kill her. Oh, we can do all this stuff, and then we can murder her at the end. But then if that's the case, again, they wrote that in 1 month, whereas they could have wrote the script in like a year. So it's a lot more condensed. So man, yeah, I really want, and I'm sure they'll say it inadvertently, like on the red carpet or leading in, like, oh, you got Hayden back, what was that like? And they'll say, oh yeah, we had this great idea and we pitched it to her, and it's like, gotcha, so one of you two are lying now. And I think Hayden probably, I don't know, I feel like Hayden would be the one that's lying, but why would you say that in an interview that you called them?
Yeah, I don't think she's lying. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like she did. I don't know. That's just what I'm painting in my brain. I have absolutely no proof of this, but I just feel like she called them up. Maybe she had gotten wind too of like, oh, maybe Nev Campbell can't be in this movie, and she's like, oh, I would love to play Kirby again. This is awesome. I want to come back to acting and all this.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely nothing against Hayden Panettiere. I'm so excited to see her in this movie, regardless. Yeah. Even if her part is just like 15 minutes, whatever. I think it's still going to be really exciting just to see Kirby on screen again.
Yeah.
And there is the proof in the last movie too with Scream 5 where it's like they have that Easter egg, Kirby is still alive in that little Easter egg thing. Yeah. So I feel like there's enough proof to be like, okay, yeah, no, they have a plan with Kirby. We know what we're doing here. But I do have my worries and my thoughts.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, and yeah, nothing against her. I think she's awesome. I'm coming out of retirement, whatever they want to call it, to do it. And maybe that's, I don't know, they could even use that as an excuse where it's like, well, we can't give her 35 minutes of screen time. Like, we have to kind of ease her back in. You could do something where then you do ease her in, and then 7 you make her. It really, to me, it depends on the 4 of them, the main 4, players, because I don't think Kirby can exist in a big role for the same reason most likely Gale and Sidney and even Dewey couldn't exist in a main role, is you have those 4 and you have to focus most. But if you start to eliminate some of those 4, which I think would be best of you to do that, by the way, then that's even the theory that Sidney, whether or not she's a cameo, right? The theory that Sidney would come back in 7 and maybe have an enhanced role. I feel like you need one of those 4 gone to, you know what I mean? And honestly, I think it would be Sam that would need to be gone personally, because Chad being gone, or even Mindy, it's like, well, that doesn't necessarily is not a 1-to-1 thing where you can swap Sidney back in. But the same thing for Kirby. Like, I just don't think with those four, with Gale, with Sidney, like, there is no room for, sadly, like, there's no room for Kirby to have a 30-minute screen time, in the film.
Yeah, that's something I'm trying to figure out. There's so many characters in this movie between like your
there's
core,
too many.
Yeah, too many characters. I agree. I think it's either going to be a bloodbath from the get-go, or like you're going to have this movie where there's so many characters and they don't know what to do with them again, which is something I'm really concerned about. And I just want Scream 6 to be good. I just want one more like banger Scream film, and then like I am happy. Cool, whatever. But I hope this one is still good. They find a way to make this something really special. I mean, they are talking, like we said at the very beginning of this video, Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega are saying this is going to be bloodier, scarier, crazier than we've ever seen before. And if they do that with a bunch of new characters, we're going to get a lot more kills. We're going to get a bloodbath here. So if they decide to have introduce a bunch of characters just to be meat bags, essentially, you know what? Maybe that's okay. Maybe that's what this franchise needs.
Yeah. Well,
I'll take it.
Going along that path, right? I mean, I've talked about it too before as well, where it's like, I would prefer a smaller cast, like 100%, because I get, like, the bigger cast, if they do a bloodbath, is your way around it. However, if you do a bloodbath and the kills are kind of cheap and lazy, you've once again upset people. Really, I'm not trying to be, by the way, like, Matt, like, this is just kind of observations. Like, 5, I liked the majority of the kills, but I mean, there was no long chase, no long sequence, and that simply could be because they didn't have the time to do it. So then when you think about 6 and you say, okay, well, actually, I believe, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there's more characters in 6 now than 5, because I think there was 13, I think there's 14 now, or maybe there's also 13, so they're at like right around the exact same. And 5, like you said, I mean, I'm right with you. 5 had a overcrowded situation. Like you could. Vince was killed in 30 seconds, but not even like Wes and stuff and Liv. They were killed, and maybe you didn't want them to be killed, but also you just had characters that were underused throughout the entire movie because you didn't have time. So you cannot make that same mistake again. I guess my point, long story even longer, if you're gonna kill a bunch of people. And then even if you do it right, like you give like if you kill a Samara Weaving and you make her like an epic scene, well, that's still time you've taken. It's a sequence. That's time you've taken from giving Sam more dialogue or Chad, or you know what I mean? So it's like you can do right by fans by doing these epic kill scenes, but that still takes time. So you're still going to maybe have a weak character development. Like they're actually stuck almost either way.
We're going to need a 3-hour Scream film is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Like a Matt Reeves Scream movie.
I just watched the Batman a second time. I think actually Scream needs that. Yeah, I don't know. That's my thought. I mean, I think that does actually solve it. Make it just a little bit long. I mean, I know movies are supposed to be, or these movies, I guess, are supposed to be shorter, but add 10 minutes. 12. Like I don't think it's gonna. I don't know what analytics they look at, but I don't think 12 extra minutes is gonna sink them.
Yeah, I don't either, man. I really think out of all these franchises that are coming back now, we got Halloween, Scream, are the big ones. Yeah. I feel like with Scream, you could actually make a longer Scream film and it could be successful. We have a lot of people complaining about longer movies, but man, for me, I just want movies to be what they got to be. Like if they got to be 3 hours and 45 minutes, like the original cut of Nope. Okay. Hey, release that. Don't cut the movie down to almost less than 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like I would rather, if this movie needs to be 3 hours, make it 3 hours and I'll watch it. Like there are fans who are invested in the series that are totally fine with bigger stories.
Right.
If you want to throw that out, and look how successful movies like Endgame were, or like this new Batman. Yep. I mean, just screw it. If a story needs to be longer or shorter, just go for it. I hate that every movie needs to be 90 minutes. You know what I mean? No. There are some super successful 60-minute films and super successful 3-hour-long films.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you. I think because there's almost been overcorrection where every movie was so short, and then every movie was 3 hours, and people are like, all right, we don't need 3 hours. But I'm with you. I mean, if your movie needs to be 3 hours, do it. If your movie's 2:10, then it can be whatever. Maybe the issue is simply. I don't know this, again, analytically. It could be, if it's a 3-hour film and it's not good, maybe they have some sort of stats to prove, well, this is going to destroy, after week 1, we're going to have nobody watching this film. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I could really think of. And, it doesn't need to be 3 hours. But again, an extra 10 or even some of the deleted scenes they cut from 5, I think
Right.
I think the Dewey Bar thing was necessary with Vince. I think that would have helped. If you just did the original Vince death, which was a much longer thing, that would have helped. Just kind of make it seem like you care about these characters a little bit more. But yeah, so for 6, I don't know. It really is almost like they've got themselves ridden into a corner because you can do epic, and I think all of us want it. A nice make Samara Weaving like Sarah Michelle Gellar, like do a nice long, but that's a long scene. That's a very long, and if you're gonna do that with like 6 different characters, well now Chad's in it for 5 minutes again, and that is not gonna help him. You know what I mean? Like that leads to Kirby being in it for 10 minutes instead of Kirby being in it for 20. So that's the issue I think they're gonna run into.
I think balance is the biggest thing we need to find if we can extend the runtime, which is, you know, unfortunate, of course. I would love for them to just like fully develop some of these characters and ideas that they have and all that. But at the end of the day, I just hope they find a balance between like, hey, some good chases, some good kills, and just some good character development. I want to know more about Chad. I feel like I don't even know the guy. Like, I totally agree with you, man. I hope they give him a little more character. I want to see the relationship between like Mindy and Chad develop a little more. Like, I feel like I only know a little bit about those two and how they interact with each other. So hopefully we get some more of that, and like just the core 4 in general. I want to know more about all of them. Yeah. So hopefully we get that in this film, as well as some just awesome kills and an actual chase scene.
Yeah, I mean, well, like, you know, Jenna Ortega did phenomenal. But even Tara is kind of like like we know the most obviously about Sam and Tara, and I think Jenna did the best out of it. I think Tara's the best character, but it doesn't mean she's like the most well written. Like, I don't think she's the deepest character because we just don't know all that much. Sam needs time. The one thing I guess I will give them based off these behind the scenes pictures is it seems like Melissa Barrera is in every scene. Right, she's like in the whole, which is good. It's good because you have to kind of give her something. We have to understand the character or where they're going more. And then Mindy and Chad, like, again, you're gonna run into an issue because if you kill one of them, like, do they care about each other? I don't really know. They showed one instance of caring, barely in 5. That's it. Yeah. In fact, most of the movie they didn't like each other. It seemed, even though they're twins. So it's like you need to do something with those characters, and it's hard to do stuff with those characters when you have, even new cast, you have like 7 or 8 new, and then you still have, you know, Gail and Kurt. I think it's probably more than 7 or 8. So you have a lot of characters. Even if you kill 2 in the opening, which maybe is necessary at this point, you know, we'll see how they do it. Any last thoughts, concerns?
Man, my one thing about Scream 6 is I cannot say this enough. I just hope they make it something different and something, even if it, like we said, even if they fall into some of these like traps that we're talking about are very, very common, could happen with the sixth movie in your slasher franchise. I just hope they go down some kind of route we've never seen before. Like, if they do that and they give us a Scream film that is original and something where we're like, okay, you know what, a little sloppy, but guess what, I've never seen this before, that's what's so exciting about it, I'll be happy. I'll be happy, man. You're not gonna always make a perfect 6th film in a franchise, and that's okay. But just give us something different, and then we can call you ambitious, we can call you something new. That's what I want.
No, that's very fair. You know, even if we leave this movie with Chad still not being a character or Sam not having enough but they did something wild, right? At least you can say, well, this movie, and ultimately, you know, you have to understand the other side of things too. Not everybody cares about that. You know, while I care about their characters, some people could literally care less, right? And so then if you give a movie where the motive is just like off the wall insane, or there's 3 of them, 3 killers, or one of them survives at the end, like something gigantic where you can say, oh, because, you know, you're not going to be able to differentiate the titles of these movies anymore because of their stupid titling, but you will be able to say, oh, that Scream movie where one survived at the end. It's like, well, there's only one that happened for, and it was Scream 6, right? It's like, as long as you do something that can differentiate this movie from any of the others, I think you're probably, it's like you said too, like, well, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel too much. It's the 6th movie of a franchise, you know what I mean? Although Revenge of the Sith is a masterpiece, I'll just throw that out there.
Technically not the third. Well, yeah,
Well,
okay.
that was
that's
the
whole
sixth.
argument.
Well,
yeah.
because you can't go episode 6 because that was only the third time they did it. So you got to go.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, well, technically, yeah. But yeah, exactly. But Alex, it has been a pleasure talking Scream with you, though. Let me tell you, we gotta do another live stream or something, more
Yes.
videos.
Yeah. There's definitely more to come, and we still have quite a road. We're sitting here at the end of July, and my God, I mean, March is coming too quick, but it is coming very, very fast. So let us know what you guys think in the comments about all this stuff. Make sure you guys subscribe to Jake's channel. I'll leave the link in the description below. Get him to 12K. An amazing guy. You know, again, we've talked for a long time. He does amazing Scream and other stuff. I mean, you've covered Nope. You've covered all this stuff that I will never touch in my life, but you've got it covered, so I don't have to. Jake, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me on.
And thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you all on the next video.